If this video found you today, it's not a coincidence. Maybe you've been feeling like the world is moving without you. It's like no matter how hard you try, something keeps pulling you back. Maybe you're tired of pretending everything's fine. Maybe no one knows just how close you are to giving up. But here's the truth. You were never meant to stay stuck here. Life has a strange way of bringing us to the edge. Not to break us, but to reveal what we're made of. Every scar, every silent night, every disappointment, they weren't punishments, they were preparation. Preparation for this moment. Because if you're watching this, this is your turning point. Not tomorrow, not when things are perfect, not when you feel ready. Now, this is where the shift begins. So don't click away. Don't silence this voice. Stay with me. And by the end of this video, you won't just feel different, you'll be different. This is where your comeback begins. There are moments in life that feel too quiet, not peaceful, but empty. Like the world is moving and somehow you're not. If you're watching this right now, it's not by accident. You didn't just click a video, you answered something. Whisper inside you, the one you've been trying to silence. The one that's been saying, there has to be more than this. Maybe life hasn't broken you, but it's bent you. Bent your will, bent your heart. Bent your belief that something better is still possible. You've been pretending for too long, waking up every day wearing the same mask. I'm fine. I'm okay. Just tired. But deep down, you're not fine. You're exhausted. You're carrying more than anyone sees. You laugh in public and cry in silence. You motivate others, but can't remember the last time you felt truly alive. This is not a motivational speech. This is a wake-up call. The kind you feel in your chest. The kind that makes your heart beat again. Because something inside you is still burning, even if it's buried under years of disappointment, failure, and fake smiles. You've been surviving. That alone makes you powerful. But you weren't born just to survive. You were born to break through, to create something that outlives the pain, to build something beautiful from the ashes. And no, they may not understand your struggle. They may not know how many nights you've laid awake wondering if you're enough. But that doesn't matter because this is your moment. This is the first breath after drowning. The stillness before the storm breaks. The crack of light after years in the dark. You don't need all the answers today. You don't need the perfect plan. But you need to make one promise to yourself. I will not stay where I am. You've been waiting for the timing to be right, waiting to feel ready, waiting for someone to choose you, believe in you, rescue you. But here's the truth. No one is coming. No one is going to hand you the life you were meant for. Because you are the one you've been waiting for. You are the turning point. Right now, in this moment, you have a choice. Stay stuck in the story they gave you, or write your own. There's no applause yet, no victory, no spotlight. But if you keep going, if you rise now, one day they'll ask you how you did it. You'll say, it started when I watched. Something that didn't let me quit. That something is this. This isn't just a video. This is a line in the sand. A choice. A whisper from your future self saying, don't stop now. You're built for more. Now, breathe, stand, and move. Because the next version of you, the one they haven't seen yet, that version starts here. They've told themselves 1,000 times, I'll start tomorrow when I'm ready, when I have more money, when I have more time. But the truth is, deep down, they've just been waiting. Waiting for a moment, waiting for a sign, waiting for the universe to scream, now's your time. So if they're here right now watching this, then this is it. This is the moment they've been begging life to give them, not wrapped in fireworks, not delivered in some dramatic revelation. Just a quiet, powerful truth whispered. From one soul to another, you're ready. Start now. They don't need more signs. They don't need another book, another podcast, another motivational reel. What they need is belief. Belief in their pain. Belief in their scars. Belief that their story has value, not in spite of the suffering, but because of it. They've waited so long for permission. From people who don't understand their fire, from a world that rewards silence more than courage, but no one is going to hand them purpose on a silver plate. Because purpose isn't found, it's built. It's bled for. It's dug up in the dirt when everyone else has walked away. They've been waiting for life to choose them. But what if life has been waiting for them to choose themselves, to stop shrinking, to stop hiding, to stop standing on the edge of their own potential? This is not a drill. This is not a test. This is the moment that divides the life they've lived from the life they were born to create. They know what holding back feels like. They know the taste of regret. They've walked around with dreams stuck in their chest for years, suffocating behind what if and someday. But this moment right here, this breath, this is the first one they've taken consciously in a long time. It doesn't take a perfect person to change their life. It just takes one who's finally done waiting. So let them hear it now. From a voice that won't let them go back. This is your sign. It's your line in the sand. Your future is not something you stumble into. It's something you decide to build. No more stalling. No more doubting. No more thinking you're not ready. The truth is, you were born ready. But belief is a muscle. It's time to lift the weight. So get up, breathe deep, feel your own heartbeat again. Because this isn't a YouTube video. This is the mirror you've been avoiding. This is your younger self asking you, are we finally going to do this? And this is your older self, silently watching, hoping. You say yes. Because if you don't, nothing changes. But if you do, everything changes. They didn't just live through pain. They endured it. Every sleepless night, every silent breakdown, every room they walked into pretending they were okay. Weakness, that was training, and they didn't even know it. Life doesn't hand out manuals. It hands out moments, painful ones, chaotic ones, lonely ones, and somehow they survived them all. Not unscarred, not unchanged, but alive. And here's the part no one ever tells them. That pain wasn't punishment, it was preparation. Every tear, training. Every failure, foundation. Every person who left, every door that slammed in their face, every moment they thought they weren't. Enough it was all building something inside them that the world couldn't see. Yet they thought they were breaking. But they were being broken open. The old version of them, it had to shatter. The soft parts. The scared parts. The version of them that settled and stayed quiet just to survive. Ad version couldn't. Carry the weight of who they're meant to become. So life had to tear it down, not to destroy them, but to rebuild them. Stronger, wiser, more relentless than ever before. They think they've wasted time, that they're behind. Someone else is ahead, already doing what they dreamed of doing. But here's what they don't realize. They've been in training camp for their own destiny. Now, they're ready to walk out of that fire, not as a victim, as a force. Because everything they've been through, the heartbreak, the setbacks, the jobs that didn't work out, the friendships that ended, the mistakes that haunted them at night, it was all shaping them for this exact moment, right now, today. They're not empty. They're equipped. They're not broken. They're battle-tested. It's not about what happened to them. It's about what they became because of it. Became resilient. They became compassionate. Became hungry. They became the version of themselves they never would have met if life had been easy. So when they look in the mirror today, they may still see pain. But what's underneath that pain? Power. Power to rise. Power to rebuild. Power to become everything they've ever dreamed of being without needing permission. Because if they made it through that, they can make it through anything. And now it's time to use it. Not run from the past, but use it. Fuel from every scar. Wisdom from every fall. Fire from every failure. This chapter of their life won't be written with ease. It will be written with intention. With grit, with the strength of someone who's no longer afraid of the storm because they finally realize they are the storm. They've been told that their past is something to hide, something to bury, to be ashamed of. That if people really knew what they'd done, where they'd been, what they'd gone through, they wouldn't respect them, wouldn't believe in them. they wouldn't love them. But here's the truth. No one told them. Their past is not a prison, it's a passport, a map, marked with every road they traveled, every mistake they made, every detour they took, just to survive. It doesn't make them less worthy, it makes them real, because people don't connect to perfection, they connect to pain, to truth, to the sound of someone who's been to hell and back and still chose to rise. Their past doesn't disqualify them, it equips them. Every scar is a story. It's every failure a lesson. Every wrong turn taught them something no textbook, no guru, no influencer ever could. When others talk about mindset, they've lived it. When others preach resilience, they've bled for it. When others share their wins, they know what it means to lose everything and still show up. They've been counted out, left behind, dismissed. They've looked in the mirror and hated what they saw, but not anymore, because now they understand. Those very moments, the lowest ones, they didn't break them. They built them. They didn't end them. They prepared them. All those nights they thought were wasted, they were being equipped for empathy, for grit, for wisdom, for purpose. Maybe that's why they're here, not just watching a video, but remembering the truth buried under years of shame. Their story still matters. In fact, their story might be the very reason they were chosen. Not to be perfect, not to impress, but to impact. Because somewhere out there is someone walking the same dark road they once walked. And they need proof that it's survivable, that healing is possible. Rising again isn't just for the lucky ones, it's for the willing ones. So let them say it out loud now. Yes, I've made mistakes. Yes, I've fallen. Yes, I've been places I never thought I'd go. But I'm still here. If I'm still here, then my story's not over. My past does not cancel my power. It's the source of it. And now I finally understand what the enemy used to try and destroy me. Life will now use to equip me to lead others out of their own fire. It's the version of them that almost gave up will one day be the reason someone else doesn't. There was a moment when they truly believed it was over. Not the kind of over people post about for sympathy. It's a kind that feels final. The kind where they lay on the floor, staring at the ceiling, and wonder if the world would even notice if they disappeared. The kind where breathing feels like effort, hope feels like a foreign language. Where everything they thought they were building collapsed. That was their rock bottom. But here's the twist no one sees coming. Rock bottom isn't where you're buried. It's where you're built. In that darkest place, stripped of everything fake, everything temporary, everything they clung to for identity. They finally met their truth. Because rock bottom removes the masks. It reveals the pain we hide behind success, the wounds we bury behind smiles, strips away applause, status, and validation until all that's left is you, raw, exposed, and ready. Ready for what? For the real beginning? See, most people think success starts with a plan, with a dream, with motivation. But for the real ones, it starts with heartbreak, with failure, with shame. Rock bottom is the birthplace of reinvention. When they had nothing left to lose, they became dangerous. Because a person who's lost, it all no longer fears failure. And when fear dies, freedom is born. They don't teach that in school. They don't put that on motivational posters. But every legend, every success story, every world changer was forged in a fire they thought would kill them. So if they've been there, if they've stared into the abyss and it stared back, if they've cried until there was nothing left inside them, then they're exactly who this world needs. Because only someone who's hit the bottom can teach others how to climb. Only someone who's been crushed can truly value the pieces they rebuild. Only someone who's broken can become whole without pretending. So if they're watching this, thinking this sounds like me, let them know your rock bottom wasn't the end. It was your turning point in disguise. And years from now, they'll look back now and realize the worst day of their life was also the day their real life began. Because from that pit, they didn't just crawl out. They clawed their way back with grit, with scars, with a fire that couldn't be put out, and now they walk with purpose, because they've been through hell and came back carrying light. They don't talk about it at dinner tables, don't post about it online, but deep down, they know there's something in their blood that's been trying to break them. It's not just their pain, it's pain passed down through stories, through silence, through patterns. Generations of fear disguised as tradition. Anger passed off as discipline. Dreams buried beneath sacrifice again and again. But this year, this is the year someone finally says, "It ends with me." This is the year they stop repeating the story and start rewriting it. Not because they have it all figured out, but because they've felt the weight long enough. They've watched it. They've lived it. They've been the child in the chaos. The one left to clean up the mess. It's the one carrying shame that wasn't even theirs to begin with. But they're not bitter. They're ready to forgive without forgetting, to heal without hiding, to rise without waiting for permission. Because generational cycles don't end by accident. They end when someone becomes brave enough to bleed differently, to speak what's never been spoken, to dream what's never been dreamed, to raise their kids in a way they were never raised, to look their past in the eye and say, "You don't get to win." They're not just changing their life, they're shifting the entire direction of their bloodline. So their future children won't grow up with the same ghosts. So their family name doesn't just survive, it evolves. Maybe it feels hard. Maybe it feels lonely. But remember, cycle breakers always walk alone first, until the legacy they build becomes the new standard. Their parents did what they could with what they had. But now, it's their turn. To do better, to choose different, to pass down love instead of fear, truth instead of silence, power instead of pain. They may not come from a perfect family, but a perfect family can come from them. And one day, when their child asks, "Why are we different?" they'll smile and say, "Because I decided we would be." There was a time when just making it through the day was a victory. Wake up, hold it together, smile when it hurts, go to sleep praying tomorrow would be different. That was survival. It was necessary. It kept them breathing, kept them moving. But now, that version of them has served its purpose. Because survival was never supposed to be the destination. It was the bridge, a chapter, not the whole story. And deep down, they know it. They can feel it, that quiet whisper. There's more than this. More than just reacting. More than just coping. More than just getting by. Because now, it's time to choose something bigger. Now it's time to choose growth. Growth isn't loud. It's not dramatic. It doesn't always show up in highlight reels, but it's there. In the uncomfortable conversations they used to avoid, in the boundaries they finally started setting, in the risks they're now willing to take, not because it's safe, but because it's right. Growth looks like healing. Like walking away from chaos they once called home. Like saying no to what's familiar and yes to what's freeing. But it's not easy. See, survival creates habits. It trains the brain to expect danger, to avoid risk, to stay small, to shrink. But they're not that person anymore. They've earned the right to expand, to stretch, to build, to thrive. And yes, it might feel foreign, to wake up with hope, to plan for more than just getting by, to believe that good things are allowed to happen to them. But that's the truth. They are allowed to feel joy without guilt, to dream without shame, to succeed without apology. Because what they went through isn't just a story of survival, it's the soil their greatness will grow from. So today, let this be the moment they stop shrinking to fit their past and start growing into their future. No more just surviving. Now, it's time to evolve.
Yes.
Time to rise. Time to build the life they once believed was impossible. They didn't come this far to stay stuck. They came this far to rise. May not say it out loud, but they feel it. That quiet weight pressing on their shoulders, the unspoken pressure passed down like an inheritance no one asked for. It's not just their struggle. It's the struggle of the ones who came before them. Patterns that repeat, pain that lingers, Words that echo through generations. This is just how we are. This is how it's always been. All we know, but something in them right now is rising. Voice that says, no more, because this is the year. This is the moment, the line in the sand. This is the year they break it. The silence, the cycle, the belief that they are forever bound to the pain they were born into. Maybe they grew up in chaos. Maybe love was inconsistent. Maybe survival was the only language spoken in their home. Maybe dreams were called selfish and emotions were called weak. But they're not here to repeat the story. They're here to rewrite it, not with rage, but with resolve, not with blame, but with boldness. They are the cycle breaker, the one who finally chooses to feel, to heal, to build. And it's not because they're better than those who came before. It's because they're becoming something different, something their bloodline has never seen before. Who says, I will raise my voice, even if it shakes. I will choose peace, even if I grew up in war. I will give love, even if I never truly received it, because they know this work they're doing now. It's not just for them. It's for the children they'll raise. It's for the love they'll one day give. It's for the future they're shaping with every brave decision. They're not healing in vain. They're healing generations. And yes, it's heavy. Yes, it's lonely. Yes, it's hard to explain to people still trapped in the pattern. But someone has to go first. Someone has to walk through the fire so their kids can play in the light, and that someone is them. This is the year they stop hiding. The year they stop apologizing for wanting more. The year they stop shrinking just to make other people comfortable. They may have been born into pain, but they were also born to transform it. So when they feel tired, when it feels like no one understands, when the old habits whisper, come back, they need to remember they're not just changing their life, they're changing the story for everyone who comes after. One day a little voice will ask, why are we different? And they'll smile and say, because I decided we would be. There's a moment, quiet, small, and almost invisible, when a person realizes that nothing around them is going to change, unless they finally decide that they will. Most people wait. They wait for the right time, the right job, the perfect partner. The sign from the universe that finally screams, now's your moment. But the truth, that moment never comes. Because life doesn't flip the switch. You do. You wake up one morning and the room looks the same. Something inside you doesn't. You're tired of feeling stuck, tired of playing small, tired of knowing you were made for more, but living like you were meant for less. You realize that your comfort zone was never really comfortable. It was just familiar, predictable, safe, but slowly suffocating, and then it hits you like lightning. Your life isn't going to magically change one day. It will look the same next month, next year, next decade, unless you decide it won't. That decision, it's not loud. It doesn't come with fireworks. It happens in the mirror. When you look at your own eyes and say, I'm done waiting. Done waiting for someone to believe in you. Done waiting for the fear to go away. Done waiting for the past to release you when it's been you holding on. This is where things shift. It's not because someone handed you a new path, but because you finally got tired of walking in circles. Because you saw that no one's coming to save you. And instead of feeling broken, you felt powerful. Because if it's up to you, then it's possible. You can leave the relationship, start the business, write the book, go back to school, speak the truth, tell the world who you really are. You can shatter the narrative that's kept you small and build a new one brick by brick with your own hands. But it starts with a decision. Not when you're ready, not when you're fearless, not when it makes sense. It starts when you're sick of living the same story on repeat and bold enough to choose a new chapter anyway. Because this world doesn't need more perfect people. It needs more deciders. The ones who say, I'm not waiting anymore. This is where it changes. And once you choose, everything shifts. Not overnight, not without struggle, but with purpose. And that's all you ever needed. It wasn't supposed to be easy, and somewhere deep inside, you knew that. You just didn't expect it to be this hard. The nights where no one called. The days where the weight felt unbearable. The moments where you stared at the ceiling and whispered, "Why me?" You didn't ask for the storm, but it came anyway. And when it hit, it didn't knock once. It tore through your plans. It shook your faith. It ripped away the version of you who thought strength was about smiling through pain. But here's what you didn't know then. The storm didn't come to destroy you. It came to reveal you. Because only in the storm do you discover what you're really made of. Only in the chaos do you find your clarity. Only in the wreckage do you realize you were never fragile to begin with. See, anyone can float in calm waters. But it takes something different to rise when the wind is howling and everything around you says give up. That's something different? That's you? You don't just survive storms, you outlast them. You learn from them. You walk out of them not broken, but rebuilt. Tougher, wiser, stronger than anyone ever gave you credit for. They may have looked at you and seen weakness, but the truth, you were forged in fire, molded in pressure, refined in silence, and still. Here you are, breathing, standing, becoming. You are the proof that storms don't win, that heartbreak doesn't get the final word, that trauma doesn't get to define you. That failure isn't the end, it's the edge of transformation. Because the truth is, storms don't break warriors, they build them. And maybe your life still has rain, maybe the thunder hasn't stopped. But now, you move differently. In it, not with fear, but with fire. You've stopped asking why me and started declaring watch me. You've stopped waiting for the world to calm down and started building your peace from the inside out, because storms are temporary. But strength becomes legacy. And that's what you're building now, a legacy made not from what you avoided, but from what you endured. So if you're still in a tiff today, feels heavy, remember this. You weren't built for comfort. You were built for change, for fire, for greatness. We're built for the storm. And when it finally passes, because it will, the world won't just see someone who made it. They'll see a force, a fighter, stormwalker. There comes a point in every journey when silence feels louder than any scream. When the people around you are still talking, still moving, still existing, but something in you has gone quiet. It's not because you've given up, but because you're listening. Listening for something real. Something that goes deeper than cliches and noise. You've heard the quotes. You've read the books. Repeated the affirmations until your throat ran dry. Still, something inside you kept asking, what now? Because motivation isn't enough when your soul is tired. When you've carried too many unspoken battles, buried too many dreams beneath responsibility in real life, and worn strength like a costume instead of a choice, you don't need more noise. You need breakthrough. You need a moment. Not where the world changes, but where you finally decide that you've had enough of living half-life. Maybe that moment is this one. Not because this video has magic, but because it's reminding you of something you already knew, that you were never meant to stay invisible, that your story was never meant to end in silence, that your pain was not just to be endured, but transformed, because you are not the hurt that happened to you. You are the healing that continues anyway. You are not your delays, your detours, or your doubts. You're the decision, the one that says, I still choose to rise, even if your voice shakes, even if your hands tremble, even if you don't feel ready. That's how real change begins. Not in a moment of perfection, but in the raw, unfiltered choice to stand up one more time. After everything said, you shouldn't be able to, and yes, you will be misunderstood. People won't always get why you stopped showing up the same way, why you don't laugh at the same jokes, or carry the same burdens, or chase the same validation. That's okay, because this shift isn't about proving yourself to the world. It's about meeting yourself, the real you, the one who's been buried beneath survival and performance, the one who remembers what it felt like to dream without limits. That version of you is not gone, just waiting. Waiting for you to slow down long enough to say, I remember. Remember who you were before life told you who to be? Before fear taught you to shrink, before failure made you doubt your own fire. Because you are not broken, you are blooming in growth. It never looks glamorous while it's happening. It looks like isolation, like pruning, like quiet nights, full of questioning, But on the other side of that discomfort, it's the version of you you've been praying to meet. The one who doesn't flinch at pressure, the one who doesn't beg for belonging, the one who creates peace where there used to be pain. And no, you won't always get it right. You'll fall. You'll doubt. You'll question if you're strong enough to keep going. But that's when you remember this path you're on. It's not about being flawless. It's about being faithful. Faithful to your next step. Faithful to your own becoming. Faithful to the belief that maybe your story is far from over, because legacy isn't something you stumble into. It's something you carve. Every day. Every choice. Every time you forgive when it would be easier to fight. Every time you love when it would be safer to run. Every time you speak when silence feels more comfortable. That's legacy. Not the applause. It's the alignment. The knowing that you're becoming the person you were meant to be, even if no one claps for it yet. Even if the world is still watching the old version of you, let them. Because while they're watching, you're building quietly, powerfully. Unapologetically, you don't need a stage to make an impact. Sometimes the most powerful transformation happens in the dark when no one sees, but everything shifts. And when you do rise, because you will, it won't be for attention. It'll be because your soul outgrew the cage you used to. Call safety. Because purpose doesn't come from applause. It comes from authenticity. From choosing to be real over being liked. From standing tall in your truth, even when your voice is the only one speaking it. So breathe. Not like someone running from pain, but like someone remembering they deserve joy. Speak. Not like someone begging to be heard, but like someone who knows their words carry power. Move, not to impress, but to progress. Because you don't owe anyone the version of you that made them comfortable. You owe yourself the version of you that makes you proud. And maybe that's the whole point of all of this. Not just to heal from the past, but to create a future so bold, so beautiful, so rooted in truth, that the past loses its grip completely. You're not here just to exist. You're here to expand. You're here to show others what it looks like to rise through the wreckage. To build a life that feels like freedom, not just from circumstances, but from the inner chains that said you weren't enough. You are enough. Not because someone said so, but because you said so. And that belief. That is your revolution. They thought the real battle was outside, between bills and jobs, between expectations and exhaustion. But the truth is, the real war was always inside. Between who they are and who they're pretending to be. Between the dreams they buried and the excuses they polished. Between the pain they numb and the fire they ignore. Now anymore now. The pretending is over. Because there comes a point when silence feels louder than the chaos. When numbness starts to sting. When going through the motions becomes its own kind of heartbreak. And that's when they know it's time. It's time to stop shrinking. It's time to stop waiting for someone else to call them worthy. Time to stop looking for peace in places that only bring more noise, so they sit with the discomfort. Not to suffer, but to finally listen. Listen to the voice that's been buried under, be realistic. The voice that whispers you were made for more. That voice isn't loud, it doesn't scream, but it's steady. And if they listen closely enough, it becomes a roar. A roar that drowns out the fear, the doubt, the guilt. A roar that breaks the chains they've wrapped around themselves for years. They don't need the world to understand their journey. They just need the courage to take the first step. And then the second, and then the third. Because momentum doesn't come from motivation, it comes from movement. Movement toward truth, toward purpose, toward the version of themselves that's been waiting to be born. They're not here to impress anyone. They're here to express something sacred, something powerful, something that's been stitched into their soul since the beginning. And even if they've wandered, even if they've fallen, even if they've doubted themselves so long they forgot what belief feels like, none of that disqualifies them. In fact, it qualifies them. Because the ones who rise after breaking, they don't rise the same. They rise with depth, with humility, with fire. They become a different kind of light, one that doesn't blind, but guides. One that says, I've been there, and you're not alone. That's the kind of power no certificate, no follower count, no spotlight can give. That's the kind of power that transforms rooms just by walking in, because it's not based on what they said, it's built on what they've survived. And now they're not surviving. They're sculpting. Sculpting a life that reflects their truth. Not a life of perfection, but of alignment. Not a life of applause, but of peace. They've finally realized that success isn't climbing someone else's ladder, it's building their own. Even if it's slow, even if it's messy, even if no one claps. Because real freedom is not found at the top. It's found the moment they stop running from themselves, they no longer chase the life others told them to want. Now they're building the life they actually need. A life where rest is not a reward, but a right. Where boundaries are not walls, but doors that protect their peace and guard their energy. Where healing is not a destination, but a rhythm. A rhythm they walk in daily. They've learned that growth doesn't always look like expansion. Sometimes it looks like retreat. Like choosing silence over chaos. Like saying no more often than yes. Like shedding friendships that feel like anchors. They no longer fear being misunderstood, because they finally understand themselves. And that's enough. They don't owe explanations to anyone who hasn't fought the war they've fought inside. Their peace is sacred now. Their truth is sacred. And their time, that's the most sacred of all. Used to beg for opportunities. Now they build them. Used to wait for signs. Now they become the sign. They used to doubt their voice. Now they speak with clarity. Because life has taught them brutally, beautifully, that waiting for perfect conditions is a myth. There is no perfect time to start. There is only courage. And that courage is rising now. Rising in their bones. Rising through the cracks. Rising through the years they thought were wasted. Nothing was wasted. Every moment mattered. Even the messy ones. Especially the messy ones. Because the mess, that's where the magic was born. That's where the blueprint was drawn in blood and tears and grit. That's where they were being prepared, not punished. And now it's time to use it all. Nothing is thrown away. Every scar becomes ink. Every wound becomes wisdom. Every wrong turn becomes direction. So they rise. Not clean, not unscathed, but honest, whole, human, and wildly, unapologetically alive. They no longer confuse survival with living, because now they're choosing both breath and purpose. They're no longer impressed by the highlight reels of others, because they've seen what real strength looks like behind closed doors, in the silence, in the shadows. It looks like getting up when no one's watching. It looks like choosing faith over fear. Again, even when it doesn't make sense. It looks like whispering, "I'm still here," when the world forgets to check on them. They've realized that their story doesn't need to be loud to be legendary. It just needs to be lived with truth, because quiet strength, that's the most powerful kind. The kind that builds slowly, brick by brick, without applause. The kind that grows roots before reaching for the sky. They no longer need to be seen. To know their value, they feel it in their chest now, in their walk, in the way they no longer chase what doesn't align. They are not who they were. And thank God for that. They're not pretending anymore. They're not settling anymore. They're not shrinking just to keep the peace that was never real to begin with. No, now they walk in truth. Even if their voice shakes, even if their knees do too, they walk. Anyway, because purpose isn't waiting at the finish line, it's built in every step. Every decision to keep showing up, every choice to stay in the room when everything in them wants to run, that's what it means to rise. And now they finally know. They were never buried. They were planted. And what's blooming now isn't just a comeback. It's a becoming. Becoming of the person they were always meant to be before the world told them to be anything else. This is their turning point. The silent decision that changes everything. The moment where pain meets power, where the past becomes fuel, where survival evolves into strength, where they finally realize they don't need to be saved, because they already saved themselves by refusing to quit, by daring to believe, and by rising when it hurt the most. So if no one's ever told you, let this moment be the first. You are not too late. You are not too broken. You are not too far gone. You've been through wasn't the end of your story. It was the foundation of your strength. You weren't buried by your pain, you were planted by it. And now it's time to rise, to grow, to become the version of yourself you were always meant to be. The world may have overlooked you, counted you out, forgotten your name. But what they didn't see was the fire still burning in your chest, that quiet fight inside you, that whisper that kept saying, "Not yet, I'm not done." And you're not. Because this, right here, this breath, this decision, this turning point isn't the end. It's the beginning. The beginning of a story so powerful it echoes long after you're gone. Your comeback isn't just about proving them wrong. About proving to yourself that nothing, no failure, no past, no fear can keep you from becoming who you were born to be. So take that next step. Speak when you used to stay silent. Dream when you used to doubt. And walk forward with your head high. Not because the path is easy, but because now, finally, you believe you're worth the fight. Thank you for being here. Thank you for not quitting. Thank you for choosing to rise. Your story matters. And your legacy, it starts now. Thank you for watching. If this moved you, remember, your story isn't over. It's just beginning.